Those branches of the hominid species that were not altered genetically by the Anunnaki evolved on their own in parallel to the human beings on your planet that the Anunnaki had created, and those that were not altered eventually evolved into the form you now call Sasquatch. So the idea is that if you had not been altered at all, today you would all be Sasquatch. But because you were altered, because you were evolved in that way, you became human beings. This also allowed for certain kinds of incarnational experiences to happen that would be very different than the incarnational experiences of Sasquatch, or Yeti, or Bigfoot, or whatever you wish to call that branch of your cousins. Now, they evolved in a very natural way, which allowed them to have a much closer connection in many ways to the idea of nature, and allowed them to develop abilities and skills that you do contain, but in a sense have forgotten that you have because of the alteration. Their abilities and skills as Sasquatch allow them to actually enter interdimensional states, passing from parallel reality to parallel reality, different dimensions to different dimensions, which is why they are so difficult to find on your planet when they don't want to be found.
So there is, in a sense, something special about the idea of Sasquatch being the original hominid form that evolved on your planet. Now, you already have heard us talk about how cats can see into other dimensions, dogs can see spirits, and so on and so forth. Well, because it's more connected to nature, the Sasquatch hominid already had these abilities and was able, because they are a hominid, to push them with thought processes into a different form of recognition, recognizing parallel realities more clearly, and learning over time how to identify with those parallel realities so strongly, or other dimensions so strongly, that they began to shift into them just by the focus that they concentrated on with regard to their relationship to those particular dimensions or parallel realities, which the animals don't need to do per se. Although there are some animals that can slip in out of other dimensions from time to time. Some insects have this ability, some mammals have this ability, though it's relatively rare because it's relatively unnecessary for them to do so. However, hominids, being a little bit different in the sense of being the foundation of Homo sapiens, had the ability to contemplate certain things and focus on certain other dimensional or parallel realities they were perceiving with their natural abilities. And so in focusing that way, gave themselves the ability to actually shift in directions that most animals don't need to.
As the molecules combined under the proper conditions, it may have given rise to the beings that naturally evolved on Earth and eventually led to the naturally evolved hominid called Homo erectus, at which point the Anunnaki then changed that evolutionary path by giving over to their DNA the human species, the Homo sapiens, creating us to be something that sort of jumped out of that evolutionary path. The natural hominids eventually evolving over the eons into Sasquatch may in fact have watched all of this happen from their own perspective, from their own position, and may not necessarily be capable of really relating to us because we became kind of the aliens on Earth. So we may eventually find that we can communicate once again with our ancestors, with the Sasquatch beings, Bigfoot, Yeti, by all the names they go by. Eventually, as we expand ourselves, as we learn of our true origins, as we relate to the idea of nature on Earth, as we become less foreign, in a sense, to the Earth, by reclaiming and recapturing our humanity, our ancestry, we may be able to eventually create communication with the Sasquatch and rejoin that particular branch of humanity.